In April 2024, North Korea unveiled the Choan-class destroyer, its largest warship ever. Billed by Kim Jong-un as a powerful multi-mission destroyer, the vessel is being touted as a symbol of national pride and technological progress. However, the reality behind the ship is more complex. While it could signal a genuine modernization of the Korean People's Navy, it might also just be an expensive propaganda tool. Let's explore the ship's capabilities, its comparison to U.S. and allied naval forces, and its strategic significance in the Pacific. A brief disclaimer. Before diving into the details of the Choan-class destroyer, it's worth stressing that much of what we know comes from scarce and heavily filtered North Korean state media, supported only by satellite imagery and outside analysis. The ship, launched on April 25, 2024, is not yet fully operational and quickly returned to port for further fitting and testing. Pyongyang claims it will be combat-ready by early 2025, but given the regime's secrecy and track record, reliable information is hard to come by. For that reason, every detail about its capabilities should be viewed with caution, tempered by skepticism, and understood as part fact, part propaganda. The Choan-class, a giant leap for the KPN. The Choan, named after anti-Japanese revolutionary and North Korean General Choan, marks a massive leap forward for the Korean People's Navy. Measuring 144 meters and displacing about 5,000 tons, it is roughly the length of a U.S. Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, though only half the displacement, putting it well short of matching its American counterpart. Even so, it far outclasses anything the KPN has previously launched, the largest prior vessel being barely 100 meters long and decades old. For context, one of Pyongyang's most prized ships is still the USS Pueblo, a captured U.S. spy vessel from 1968 that functions more as propaganda than as a warship. By contrast, the Choan is not merely a larger ship but a symbolic declaration. North Korea intends to shift from a brown water navy, confined to coastal defense, to the beginnings of a blue water navy, capable of operations far beyond its shores. Bristling with weapons, Pyongyang's clear priority with the Choan is firepower, and the ship is packed with weapons, at least on paper. Its main armament is a 127mm naval gun, roughly equivalent to the U.S. Navy's 5-inch Mark 45, offering both surface strike and limited land attack capability. More striking is the inclusion of 74 vertical launch cells, squeezed onto a relatively compact hull, reportedly capable of firing everything from anti-ship and surface-to-air missiles to cruise and even ballistic missiles. For close-range defense, the destroyer mounts 2 Russian AK-630 rotary cannons, while midship sits a Russian-supplied Pantsir-M system, combining 57 E-6 and Hermes K missiles with additional cannons, an unmistakable symbol of cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang. Torpedo armament includes twin heavyweight launchers on both sides of the superstructure, and analysts speculate the vessel may also house drone launchers, or even anti-tank missile platforms, though those claims remain unverified. While the arsenal looks formidable, its effectiveness ultimately depends on the ship's radars, sensors, and fire control systems. And that's where serious doubts begin to surface. The missile tests. Just days after its launch, the Choan was showcased under Kim Jong-un's watchful gaze as it carried out live fire demonstrations, with state media proudly broadcasting images of cannon fire, missile launches, and close-in weapon tests. Analysts believe the ship tested several systems. The Hwasal-2 land attack cruise missile, about 7 meters long with a 2,000-kilometer range, and a 400-kilogram payload, potentially nuclear capable. A so-called strategic supersonic cruise missile, possibly the Padasol 3AC-31 or Fire Arrow, which could also strike targets up to 2,000 kilometers away, threatening all of Japan and even Guam, and an unidentified surface-to-air missile suspected to be the Pogasu-2 Meteor, a medium-range SAM estimated to reach between 7 and 150 kilometers. In theory, when combined with the Russian-supplied Pantsir-M system, These weapons provide the destroyer with a layered air defense network. In practice, however, without reliable radar and fire control integration, these missiles risk being little more than blind projectiles. Dangerous, but far less effective than Pyongyang would like the world to believe. The fire control problem. According to independent naval analysts, the Choan may not yet have a functioning fire control radar for its surface-to-air missiles. While radars are visible on the bridge, probably for the AK-630 CIWS and main gun, there's no clear system guiding the VLS-launched SAMs. This raises an awkward possibility. The launch tests may have been little more than demonstrations to prove the tubes could open and missiles could leave the ship, rather than genuine, combat-ready trials. Without robust sensors, the destroyer's massive missile arsenal risks being more propaganda than practical firepower. Propulsion mystery. Another glaring question mark is propulsion. At its debut, the Choan appeared to lack an operational engine, as it was reportedly towed into position for weapons testing, and then towed back to port. Photos show bow thrusters, suggesting a conventional diesel-powered system. But no one outside North Korea knows for sure what powers the ship, or how fast or far it can travel. For a blue water Navy vessel, propulsion is critical. Without a reliable system, the Choan is essentially a floating barge of weapons, not a true ocean-going destroyer. Aviation facilities. The ship does feature a helicopter pad, theoretically enabling anti-submarine operations or resupply. But notably, there's no visible hangar. That means helicopters cannot be permanently based on board, limiting flight operations to temporary visits. For comparison, most modern destroyers carry at least one permanently stationed helicopter, which dramatically expands their surveillance and anti-submarine capabilities. Comparing to U.S. Navy destroyers. On paper, the Choan resembles the U.S. Navy's Arleigh Burke class in length, but the comparison falls apart quickly. At 5,000 tons, it is only half the size of a Burke, and while it carries 74 vertical launch cells, the American destroyer packs 96. More importantly, Burkes are equipped with the Aegis combat system, an advanced integration of radar, fire control, and battle management that North Korea simply cannot match. The Choan sails alone, whereas a Burke operates within a carrier strike group, backed by air cover, submarines, and logistics support. Without comparable systems or fleet infrastructure, Pyongyang's destroyer is outclassed in every meaningful category. In a direct engagement, even a single U.S. or Allied warship would likely overwhelm and sink it in minutes. Ultimately, the Choan may look formidable, but it remains more symbol than serious naval rival. Why this still matters? If the Choan is clearly outclassed, why should it matter? The answer lies not in its raw capability, but in who controls it and what it represents. For Pyongyang, the destroyer is a powerful symbol of progress, feeding domestic propaganda and projecting the illusion of modern naval strength. Strategically, it also breaks a historic limitation. North Korea's east and west coast fleets have long been isolated, but this ship could finally link them by circumnavigating the peninsula. And that's the breakdown of North Korea's new Choan-class destroyer. Do you think it's a real game changer or just a floating flex? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, smash that like, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss our next military analysis.